everything that I need to do, I need to do it now because tomorrow is not owed to any of us. And one of the things I want to do is continue to do a lot of traveling.
This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good afternoon, Jerri Williams. Previously, episode 1185 of the 12-Minute Convos podcast. It's been just 2 years, 4 months, 14 days, 17 hours, and 45 minutes since we last recorded that conversation. That was then. This is now. Jerri, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. First of all, when you start saying your episode numbers and you're into the thousands, I have to applaud. That's fantastic that you're still doing this. Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. And you as well, right? Like, you've not shelved your podcast. The last time we spoke, FBI retired, case file reviewed, podcast was going on. You're still trucking, aren't you?
Absolutely. I have a brand new episode 193, going up today. So, yeah, I'm still doing it too. I did stop doing it weekly and started doing it every other week because the pressure was getting to a point where it was taking away the enjoyment of doing this. And so every other week is much, much better. It fits my schedule, it allows me to also, continue writing books and just enjoying my retirement. So, yeah.
Yeah, you deserve that, right? There's a voice that would have spoken to you somewhere in the midst of it, right? As the pressure was mounting, as the stress was raising, how are you able to discern which voice to listen to in the midst of things? Amongst all the other voices, right? That's saying, hey, you need to release the podcast. Hey, you need to do this. How are you able, Jerri, to discern that voice?
Well, I have to admit that I ignored the voice for over a year. So I have actually been doing my podcast for 4 years. And it was about 2.5, 3 years in that I thought to myself, this is stressful because it is not as easy as you would think to get guests that are exclusively retired agents. I have access to them, but there were some agents who are retired and they're past talking about their old cases. So I would say maybe a third of the people that I reach out to say yes. And so probably finding agents to interview is the most time consuming part. And so about 2.5 to 3 years in, I realized this is a lot of work. And that voice was telling me, are you sure? Is this really how you want to spend your life? Always worried and looking and trying to find. And so I ignored that voice for probably a year, if not more. And then it just got to a point where, again, it wasn't enjoyable. And, when you do something creative, it's got to come from a place of joy. And that's when I realized I got to do this. And it was perfect timing because my husband and I were taking this nice trip to Paris, Amsterdam, and Prague. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to let them know that I'm going to be gone and I never really before that had taken off any time at all. And so I let them know I was going on my trip and that when I came back, it was going to be every other week. And so it was perfect timing and it just feels so right. I'm so glad I did it.
That's wonderful. Now, you spoke about your husband. It puts you at around 33, probably 34 years of being married. How has he been impacted by everything that's Jerri Williams? Because it feels as though, and you spoke about it, right? Combining creativity and action. And It feels as though you encompass that. So how has he been impacted by who you are?
Well, I can tell you that he was probably the major reason that I cut back because, he was expressing that it was too much, that I was sitting up in my home office, for hours and hours at an end. And, he wants to talk about stuff. There's so much going on in the world, especially here in the U.S. with politics. And, he had to wait until I cracked the door and came downstairs to even talk. And so he expressed that. And, as a good wife and a good partner, I should say. I understood, and so that was probably the second major reason. My own enjoyment, and then his expressed desire for me to pull back, for me to do so. So, and that's important. That's very important. I want to stay married.
It's a good thing, it's a good thing. Now they're children, right? Of course, you said they were adults, the twin and your oldest son.
Hey, but guess what?
Tell
Guess
me.
what?
Granny?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I
congratulations.
I know. So I mean, a lot can happen in 2 years and 4 months. But yeah, so my daughter had a son,
Wow.
Carter, and Carter will be 2 in June. And then my son had a daughter, and her name is Wendy,
Hmm.
and she is going to be 1 in April. And my daughter, the same daughter, is going to have her second son also in June. So I'm going to be a
Wow.
three-time grandmother. I go by Gigi. I'm a little bit too young
Love it.
to be a grandmother, but I'll be a three-time Gigi in June. Isn't that
Yeah,
great?
yeah. It sounded like, And now we have Jerri Williams. She's the three-time Granny Award winner.
I like that. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Now, there's the beginning and the ending of life. You're experiencing the beginning with having grandchildren, and there's a conversation we've been opening up, which is, hey, do you plan your days with death in the forefront of your mind or in the back end of your mind, understanding that it is possible that you could die today or tomorrow?
Well, I definitely, and I don't want to be morbid. Yeah, I think about that all the time. I think about my legacy, and that's one of the reasons that I do what I do. And I do think about that because I am going to be 63 next month, and when I think of
Wow, you look great.
I,
Wow.
oh, that picture's old that you're looking at.
Okay. Well, hey, come on. What's that about? The
I know.
self-sabotaging. It's like,
Hey,
okay, I
I
take it.
know.
Like, I receive.
I
Yeah.
know. I know. I just being honest, but no, I will be the first one to tell you that I take really good care of myself. My FBI training and physical fitness focus is still very, very much out there in the forefront. And I exercise and I eat right, and I go out there. I can't run anymore. My knees says I can't, but
Mm,
I'm out there doing power walks almost daily.
mm.
So I take very good care of myself. And again, I think that's from having that FBI culture ingrained in me. But yeah, so I think about the future, and just thinking that my grandkids, by the time they get to college, I'll be in my 80s, and so you can't help but think about that and realize that everything that I need to do, I need to do it now because tomorrow is not owed to any of us. And one of the
Mm.
things I want to do is continue to do a lot of traveling. I'm actually scheduled to go to China in October, so I hope they get
Wow.
this virus cleared up in time.
Yeah. When are you coming to Trinidad? I mean, why go quite China when there's Trinidad right here, the
Mhm.
Caribbean right here? Just
Yeah,
saying.
I know, I
Yeah,
know.
think about it. Yeah. That's wonderful. What I remember you spoke as well as the non-profit that you supported, which was Fresh Artists at
Yes.
that time. How's that going?
Oh, it's still going great. I have a board meeting next week. They have started, and I don't know if I mentioned this, and they were doing it back then, but they have a program called Cool Jobs. And one of the things that people think is that, you have to be a starving artist. And so one of the things they do is introduce school kids in Philadelphia to the jobs that you can have that are quite lucrative, that you
Mm.
can earn a living in the creative field. And so that's also coming up in March next month. So we'll have busloads of kids coming in to meet different artists from architecture to cooks or chefs, I should say, and
Mm.
fashion designers and puppet makers, all kinds of people. And I just love that because again, for many many years I was in law enforcement, and now I am able to let all of my creative ideas and feelings and thoughts come through, as I podcast and write my crime novels. And now I'm writing nonfiction too.
Wow, well, that's amazing. Where can people go to find out more? Because there are a ton of books that you've been able to get into, right? I mean, even the pay-to-play novels. Like, there's just a ton that you've been doing. I wonder how you even get time to do everything, but you are doing it. Where's the best place we can go to connect with that?
On my website, which is jerriwilliams.com, and that's Jerri Williams.com. I have everything there, my books, my podcasts, and I also blog about different TV shows and movies and books and what they get right and what they get wrong about the FBI, because that's how most people learn about the FBI.
Yeah, through watching it on television, Netflix, they do it. Yes, they do. My friend, it's such of a grand opportunity to connect with you and to touch base and to find out that you've not given up.
No way.
Yeah. You have that Maya Angelou voice finish. I had my son on my lap while I was listening to your episode preparing, and he was a bit fussy, and then your voice came on and he just stood at attention.
Oh my goodness, I like that. One of the things that I noticed when I was listening is that you have this soft, gentle, very relaxing voice. And I think I have more of a commanding voice. And so I thought this time that I would take it down a notch. So.
Oh, you're good. You're good being who you are. I really do appreciate it. Again, it is both motivational and inspirational to chip in here and to hear that you've not given up, my friend. Well done. Sometimes you don't hear that because you're going so fast. You don't tell yourself it most times, right? But I mean, from this guy in the Caribbean, well done for understanding the work that you're putting in for humanity. Because the
back
work
at
that
you.
I appreciate that. The work you're putting on is for humanity. There's legacy. My friend, in closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
No, I just want to also encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. I've had a chance to go through and listen to many of those episodes that you have in your backlist, and they're fantastic. Isn't podcasting fantastic?
Oh my, I think there's going to be a psychological study on this in the next decade of how lives were transformed by the power of conversations. It's really remarkable what can occur when you start listening to your own voice as well as others. So I do appreciate you, Jerri Williams, folks, the amazing Jerri. A pleasure I treasure. Thank you for being on What Is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. This podcast is produced by Pod Edits. Visit podedits.com for professional podcast publishing.